Hello, everyone. Welcome to NRW. I am Rob the Movie Guy, and this is Rob the Movie Guy's Bird. And today I'm doing a review for Netflix's latest flick, The Dirt, which is based on the true story of 80s metal band Motley Crue, which is in turn also based on the autobiography of the same name by author Neil Strauss. And it was also written by the four members of the band as well. The film is directed by Jeff Tremaine, who is known for directing the Jackass trilogy, also co-producing the Jackass TV series along with a spin-off, and that's also including Bad Grandpa. The film does star Douglas Booth, who plays Nicky Six. Yoan Roan, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I apologize if I butchered it, which I'm pretty sure I just did. He plays Mick Mars. Daniel Weber, who plays Vince Neil. And Colson Baker, who many of you guys may know under the name of Machine Gun Kelly, playing Tommy Lee.
It could have happened to anybody, but it didn't. It happened to us. The new band is gonna be something nobody's ever seen before.
Oh my God, those are my pants.
But they look so much better on me.
We got a runaway, a kid drummer, an old man.
Let's just play it.
A cover band singer.
They say you're gonna be a rock star.
What do you think?
Holy shit.
If we want to knock people on their asses, then we've got to give them a show. I'm talking like a stadium show in the clubs. The fans, they're dying for some anarchy. So let's give it to them.
I work for Elektra Records. You guys like a record deal?
I had managed the Scorpions, Bon Jovi, Skid Row, Kiss, but I had never been through what Motley Crue put me through.
I am sick and tired of not having any fun.
Everything's upside down and flip-flopping.
Motley Crue, no strangers to controversy.
Vince Neil was charged with vehicular manslaughter.
Tommy Lee and Heather Locklear have separated.
It's a degenerative bone disease.
Nicky Six has overdosed.
I know it's not gonna be easy, but I believe in you guys.
Win it all or lose it all. We are Motley Crue.
Motley Crue, here all week!
Okay, boys, let's rock the
I'm going to go and start by saying that this film is pretty much a shot of adrenaline from start to finish for the most part. Literally the first minutes of the film, it is just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You have Nicky, I'm not meant to say Nicky Six, I meant to say you have Vince Neil having sex with someone's girlfriend in the bathroom of this apartment they're having a party at. And then you see Tommy Lee eating out a girl who then proceeds to squirt after the fact. And that is just the first 4 minutes. And then afterwards, it becomes a narration starting up with Nicky Six talking about his background. And it just pretty much goes off in this really crazy short burst of just insane wild stories that they have gone through in their lives. And I will say this here. I'm going to make kind of like a slight comparison to Bohemian Rhapsody because I had just seen that film for the first time a few weeks back. And although I did enjoy the film a great deal, there was a lot of things about the films that I wish that they would have done as far as the direction of the story in terms of like how crazy Freddie Mercury's personal life was. Because if you hear the stories of Freddie Mercury's personal life, you come to find out, as many of you may already know, that Freddie Mercury was gay and he had a lot of gay sex and he had gone to a lot of gay houses, gay bathhouses, I meant to say, and gay bars and met with a lot of guys, slept with a lot of guys. And you hear these stories of like all the amounts of cocaine and drugs he has done, all the arguments he's gotten with the band, and losing his voice at one point before a live television event on Saturday Night Live. Like he had an argument with the band at one point and just had a screaming match with them, and then completely lost his voice. And so for a period of like 2 to 3 days, he had to completely rest so that way he can regain his voice back in time for a performance on Saturday Night Live. And that's like one of the crazy things you hear about of his life. And even though Bohemian Rhapsody is supposed to be about the band, in reality it was about Freddie Mercury. What I loved about The Dirt was that they held nothing back. I mean, they really go deep into all the mistake they've made and all the problems they've gone through. I mean, like I said, you're seeing them sleep with everyone else's wives and girlfriends, and at some points you see them sleep with each other's girlfriends, and then they have all these wild escapades that they go through where they're in just this big, massive rush of success, and they're exploiting everything that's in their way, where they're just taking advantage of every situation. Like I said, they don't hold anything back. They show all the wrong they've done. And then in seeing that, I remember I was watching, I remember thinking of the film Bohemian Rhapsody and thinking, I wish Bohemian Rhapsody had done that, where they really do a good job with showing all the down and dirty side of Freddie Mercury, along with all the genius and the creative side of him as well, too, that led him to coming up with tunes like Bohemian Rhapsody, or writing A Love of My Life, or what was another one? Don't Stop Me Now, just to name a few. Like really show all that duality of him, and having him come up with all those songs. Meanwhile, you're seeing all this craziness that he's going through in his own personal life, and then flipping back to his artistic side of it. Like I wanted to see that being played out more into Bohemian Rhapsody, whereas this film just went all straight dirt, and no pun intended, but it just went straight craziness. And they've done a really good job, especially in the direction of Jeff Tremaine, who I said before has done all the Jackass films. He's produced and co-created the show along with its spin-off like Nitro Circus and Wild Boys. And he also had directed and co-wrote Bad Grandpa with Johnny Knoxville. So when it comes to capturing all the psycho parties and all the crazy events that happen in the band's career and in their personal lives, he captured that very well. I have to say though that when they came to some of the emotional aspects of the storyline, there were some very powerful performances, I have to say, especially in part of actor Daniel Weber, who plays Vince Neil. There's a scene where you find out that his daughter has stomach cancer, and the performances that both him and the actress that plays his young daughter, quite frankly, was really impactful. At one point, I remember I stopped and was I thought about my own son. As some of you may realize that I do have a son who there's a video of us posted on the channel here where we do a reaction to Toy Story 4, and I have a really good relationship with my son. So when I saw that scene with Vince Neil's daughter, him reacting to the news of his daughter getting cancer and then having to lie to his daughter pretty much, and telling her that she will come home after having the surgery, and the cancer had already spread to the point where it was just irreversible, and it was terminal at that point. And she's crying and wants to go home, and why am I having this surgery, and so on. And he is in tears explaining to her that it's okay, you're going to come home, you're going to have one more surgery, and then you'll be coming back home shortly afterwards. And obviously that wasn't the case, because she ended up passing away, and she was 5 years old when she passed away. So that really made an impact on me, and actually I started crying as a result of that. But when you have those little short spurts of emotional moments, you also have a lot of the more wild side of it as well too, which the film does a really good job of capturing that. And then I have to say though that the actors playing these band members, such as Douglas Booth playing Nikki Sixx, phenomenal job. For me, one of the great standouts in the film was whose name I'm going to butcher is Yoan Roan, who plays Mick Mars. He has the difficulty in having to portray a character, in this case in Ricky Mars, to showcase a disease that he has, which disease I don't remember what it's called, but it's a disease where apparently his spine starts constricting to the point where all the other members are walking with this really long bravado, and they're really full of themselves and extremely cocky and confident, especially when they're around women and so on. They walk up really tall and they have their shoulders out. They're just full of themselves. Whereas Mick Mars is not like that. he walks with his shoulders down, and you can see kind of him just hunching over like that. And he is like that throughout the film, and he has to showcase a lot of the pain that he's in because his spine is pretty much just restricting right here, just getting tighter and tighter to the point in real life they've mentioned that he's also come to the point where he just was completely locked. So he can't move his arms, he can't move his back, he just can't move at all because he is literally stuck in there. So he's had to have a lot of, I believe, a few surgeries, if I'm not mistaken. I know he had a hip replacement at one point over a decade ago. And he also take a lot of medication to help with this disease and to ease the pain as well. And I believe this man is like well into his 60s now, or like mid to late 60s, if I'm not mistaken, where some of the other guys are well into the 50s at this point. So I believe that when he joined the band, he was already in his late 20s, early 30s, whereas everyone else is still pretty much in their early 20s. And they make a note of that in the film. So his performance in that part was, for me, quite frankly, was one of the best things of the film. Along with actor Daniel Weber, who I mentioned before, has a really emotional scene with his daughter where he has to lie to his daughter that his daughter will be coming home after the surgery, trying to remove the tumor from the stomach, and knowing that she was pretty much done for. And that performance that he gave and that subtlety that he shows in caring for his daughter and clearly showing his emotional side of that event in his life. He does a really good job, and that also stuck out a great deal. And him being so cocky and full of himself in the beginning of the band's career, he has done a really good job in capturing that. I happened to watch a few videos of Vince Neil and Nikki Sixx, some of Mick Mars, and plenty of Tommy Lee, where you see their young selves being so full of themselves and having a lot of fun and being just a bunch of party guys, and they're talking about their. I mean, they're really not holding back on the stories that you've heard on the news where they're trashing hotel rooms and they're running naked in the hotel and they're scaring people and they're just doing all these wild and nonsensical stuff. And they are open about that in those interviews, and having that shown in the film reflects their very own personality, that they're pretty much an open book. So when they capture all that in the film, especially in reflection of these actors playing the characters, I think they've done a really good job in showing that, especially Machine Gun Kelly, who I didn't realize was in a few other films that I had already seen, one being The Bird Box, which I didn't know that was Machine Gun Kelly. And I'll be honest, I had never heard of Machine Gun Kelly until he was cast in this part. When they mentioned that he was going to be cast at playing Tommy Lee and that he was a rapper, I had no idea who he was, let alone even heard his music. I heard one song of his, which was a diss song between him and Eminem that he had done, and I didn't even listen to the whole thing of that song. So as far as his music, it didn't really appeal to me, but not to say about this guy, but just didn't appeal to me. But as far as his acting is concerned, I happened to watch an interview of him in promoting this film, and a lot of the personality you see him portraying in his interview, where he's outgoing, is very talkative, is very sociable. He showcases a lot of that in this film as well. It looks to me as if though a lot of his strength was showcasing that side of Tommy Lee, and it turns out that he actually doesn't live too far from Tommy Lee in real life. So he was able to kind of get some personal insight of him and how would you react to this and how did you really say that? And Tommy Lee was able to give some insight of that, and he was, for me, from what I could gather, especially in watching this film, he does a really good job in showing the happy side of Tommy Lee and really that laid back and fun-loving family type of guy that Tommy Lee is in real life, from what I can also gather as well. And Machine Gun Kelly captures that for me. And like I said, the overall cast of in this film is flat out really, really good. One in particular, which I'm really excited to talk about here, because there's a scene in where you see Ozzy Osbourne in the film, where he comes out in this poolside in this hotel that the band is staying, because they ended up opening up for him in the beginning of their tour. And Ozzy Osbourne comes out. The guy that plays Ozzy Osbourne is an actor by the name of Tony Cavallero. I'm going to say this here. This guy is an American. And the reason why I highlight this is because Douglas Booth, Daniel Weber, who plays Vince Neil, and Yoan Rowan, they're all foreign actors. Daniel's from Australia, Douglas is from England, and Yoan Rowan is from Wales. Whereas Machine Gun Kelly is the only actor in the cast, as far as the bands are concerned, that is American. And then having an American playing a British character, a foreign character, in Ozzy Osbourne, the guy did a fantastic job. Not once did I ever think that this is an actor trying to be Ozzy Osbourne. I lost all thought on that. and was completely focused. And honestly, quite honestly, I was really caught up in the moment, like how amazing this actor was after the fact. But during the moment, he was like, all I saw was Ozzy Osbourne. The guy looked almost like him, like almost to a T. He even had the hair the way Ozzy had it back in the 80s. It was like that long, dirty, scruffy, blonde, dirty hair. And then he had the accent down to a T, and just all the general mannerisms that Ozzy has, where he's like, "Hello, how are you?" And just all those little character nuances that you remember so vividly of Ozzy Osbourne, especially during that era. He captured that so well. I grew up a bit of an Ozzy fan, not hardcore, but just a very more than casual Ozzy Osbourne fan, especially when he came through his solo career. Because I loved Mama, I'm Coming Home, Dreamer. There was another one I should know the name of the song, but it escapes me at this moment. But he's done a lot of good stuff. So when I saw this actor playing the part of Ozzy, I was blown away. And then I come to find out that he's actually a local boy. I'm originally from the Northern Virginia area, and I was born in Arlington, so I'm familiar with all the Arlington County, Fairfax area, parts of Woodbridge, and virtually all of Northern Virginia, parts of Southern Maryland and DC. So when I found out that this actor was born in was born in Annandale, I was shocked because I was like, "Holy crap! A local boy is in a film playing Ozzy Osbourne. He does a fantastic job." And then I also come to find out too that there was a School of Rock TV series, and he ended up playing the part of Jack Black's character in that show. So this guy does have some background with production in TV and now in film as well. So I'm hoping that I get to see more of his stuff in the upcoming future here with regards to film and television, because his performance as Ozzy Osbourne for me was quite a scene stealer, because like I said, I forgot that this was an actor playing the part of Ozzy Osbourne, and he stole that entire scene for me. I won't reveal too much. I'm sure it's available online. You can just watch it if you don't have Netflix. But if you have Netflix, it is well worth the watch to see this guy perform as Ozzy Osbourne, because it is top notch. And the fact that it's a local American boy from my neck of the woods, playing this part brought a smile to my face. So I was really happy to see that. So as far as that is concerned, that is basically the end of my positives here. Now, as far as the negatives are concerned, I will say this here. I'm going to make a slight comparison to Bohemian Rhapsody, where Bohemian Rhapsody was able to do a build-up, a cohesive story, where you have the build-up to Freddie Mercury's character in the film, where you have where he started to where he ended up and how he ended up to these certain events throughout his life and in his career. And you see the build-up to that, so that way when the payoff in the end comes, it makes sense, and it's a very satisfying ending, if you will, for the story of Freddie Mercury. Whereas this film, I've heard someone made a mention that it's basically a professional version of behind the scenes. So imagine if the band was telling a story of these events in their lives, and they were doing a quick reenactment of these stories that they were telling about. This is just a professional version of all that, and I have to kind of agree with them on that aspect, because everything is rushed. There's no proper build up to all these events in their lives. There's one point Vince Neil meets a girl, asks her to marry him. They're already married. She's pregnant. They have a daughter. The daughter is sick, and she dies. But the way it gets built, the way it's told into a story is almost done in short spurts. It's like married, child's born. Pregnant, child is sick, child dies, and then he moves on. But it all comes in short spurts, and there's really no proper build-up to that. Everything is told so fast, and you can tell by the way that the film is directed. You could also tell that it's directed by somebody who has experience on being able to tell you short spurts of events here and there throughout these people's lives. Like, for example, Jeff Tremaine has done a lot of the Jackass films and a lot of the Jackass TV series as well too. And you can tell that with his experience of being able to capture short, quick moments of these guys' part of the day and shooting that craziness in that span of like 3-4 minutes, and then compiling that for an episode, in this case a film, in a span of 30 minutes to an hour and a half. He does a really good job of capturing all those quick, short bursts. But when it comes to a really linear, cohesive story, it's kind of lacking, I have to say. Another thing that I'm going to say that's a little lacking too with regards to acting, Machine Gun Kelly. Now, he is not a terrible actor by any means, as far as this film is concerned, and let alone with Bird Box. I thought he did a pretty good job with Bird Box too, even though I didn't know who he was. He didn't stick out as a sore thumb. As a matter of fact, I thought he was quite good in the film. But when it comes to the emotional aspects of the film, where Tommy Lee has to get really heavily, you have to see the emotions of certain scenes where the band gets back together and they find out that Vince Neil's daughter has passed away. Having him perform those emotional aspects of the scenes for this character didn't really do a lot for me. It didn't take me out of the film, but you can tell with all these other actors, especially the three foreigners playing the parts of the band members, they walked circles around him. And you can tell the level of acting skills are just night and day, top to bottom. It's just 10 times better, and you can clearly see that in the film. For me, I can notice that, but not to say that he was terrible in the film. He was quite good. It's just that the level of acting skills showcases a lot more towards the experience side of it with the other actors, whereas Machine Gun Kelly, not so much. But nonetheless, he was good, but it wasn't all that great. But didn't take me out of the film though. And then the way the film had ended, you have this the band had broken up, and they have this they have a new singer who I don't even remember whose name it was. He's in the film for like literally maybe less than a minute, and even in that short amount of time he's on screen, you don't ever hear him talk. And there is no story about how the band dealt with him personally, knowing that a lot of the fans hated this new singer without even giving him a chance. You even see the part where they were able to sell out auditoriums, arenas, stadiums, and then having this new singer after Vince Neil had left or having him fired him, depending on what side of the story you hear. You find out that not that many people are showing up to the shows, and you have a short moment in the film where how they're receiving that, and they're like, "Holy crap, we're just not the draw that we used to be," especially not with having Vince Neil in the band. And I wish they kind of dealt with that more and really got more in depth in how they handled that with the new singer, how the new singer reacted towards that, how he's going to be able to overcome that, like all this stuff that I would love to have seen how they would have dealt with that. They just spent more time on it, but instead you just get these short bursts, boom, 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 and now they get back with Vince Neil and they convince him to come back into the group, and then all of a sudden they have a reunion, and that's where the film ends. So in a span of like 15 to 20 years, you're telling a story that's well under 2 hours. You're going to have a lot of parts that are just going to be melded together, and it's going to be not told it's not going to be told in its entirety. One other positive I did want to bring out, which I forgot to mention in that part of the review, when they do take liberties of certain events that occur in the film that never happened, they take notice of that, and then they also break the fourth wall and telling that to the audience. At one point, you'll see how they met their manager at a party in an apartment where some guy wanted to fight Tommy Lee, and then all of a sudden this other guy comes up, grabs the guy who was trying to take a swing at Tommy Lee, and pins him to the ground, puts him in some sort of arm lock, and he says, "You guys are going to need a manager." And then Mick Mars pans to the camera and says, "That's not how we met our manager. In real life, we met him at a show. After our show, it was him and this other guy, but this other guy is not going to be in the film, so sorry. But this is how we met him in real life, and it was a lot longer and so on." But back to the show, and then you can continue on with the film. So it was nice for them to be able to bring that up and take time to elaborate on what really happened, even though it was for like 10 seconds. But they do take the time to let the audience know that, so that way you're not under the impression, if you're not sure who the band is, that, oh, that's how it really happened. Because a lot of people who watch Bohemian Rhapsody, I met one person that said, "Oh, it's nice to know that that's how the story of Queen unfolded." I was like, whoa, that's not how it actually happened. A lot of the things you see in the film where they took quite a few liberties. The core of the story of the band is pretty much there, but the overall story itself, not entirely true. They just pretty much melded a lot of things, and things were all over the place in terms of the timeline, and it just didn't make any sense. And then another negative about this film is that they don't really focus on the songs, whereas in Bohemian Rhapsody, they show the build-up to the song, how they made the song and how it had the impact. In this film, it just kind of plays in the background, and then there's more stories about the craziness rather than the actual thought process and the creativity of how they made up these songs, and then that's pretty much it. I have to say, though, in closing with this review, that overall, I did enjoy the film. I thoroughly did enjoy it, but it was lacking in a lot of areas in terms of narrative, some parts of acting, and just getting more elaborate with how they develop these songs and to have a very nice build up to these moments in their lives, so that way when you have the payoff in the end, it makes sense rather than just doing short bursts here, short bursts there, and then that's it, guys. End the story. I really wish it was a little more impactful in that aspect of it. But overall, I would say, as far as the film is concerned, as a fun movie is concerned, I give it 2 yays here. If you haven't seen the film, please do so, and do yourself a favor. Do us a favor here, and let us know if you have seen the film. Going down the comment section below, and let us know what you thought. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you a Motley Crue fan? Were you well aware of the story as far as the band's histories are concerned? And since you're watching the video here, please do us a favor and subscribe and give us a like here. And do follow NRW on Twitter at TheNRW, and also on Instagram, New Release Wednesdays. You can follow me on Twitter at RobMedina0585, and also follow me on Instagram at RobMedina_0585. Until next time, cheers.
No, we can't.